Thank you so much. So, the real question we're going to answer is, after you've listened to everyone today, what on earth can we possibly say that you haven't already heard? I'm starting to feel like my presentation is a summary of what people have said so far. So that's going to be quite interesting. So I am speaking with two other speakers. So guys, please come up. I think we may need to move these chairs. Jules, that's in the middle of the presentation. Right, so first of all, I'm Gillian. I'm the head of content and engagement for Ayoba. And I just want to give my panelists the opportunity to introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. My name is Metane, founder of Slikouronlife. Thanks for inviting us.
I'm Cherylann, Cherylann Sawyer, and I am at Ogilvy Experience. For those that don't know what Ogilvy Experience is, we basically the digital division within the group. So we have quite a platform, or let me rather say we have quite an array of MarTech tools that we use to build platforms and services, and all the cool analytics and CRM and modern loyalty. That's what we do.
Thanks, guys, for joining me on the stage, and thank you so much to the MMA for having us on your stage. So we're going to be talking about content marketing, and of course we're going to be talking about Ayoba. So for the many people today who've asked me what is Ayoba, I'm going to show you. So we are Ayoba. We are a super app, or as we like to call ourselves lately, an all-in-one app that's housed within the MTN group, which means that we have the privilege of offering free data to our users in most of the countries in the MTN footprint, including South Africa, Nigeria, and Ghana. But the app is available to everyone, any network, Wi-Fi, etc. So the app is available in 22 languages, including many African languages, but our content is mainly in English and French, because French, we have a very good following in Francophone Africa, and English for the rest of the continent, and most recently Arabic, starting with a big following in Sudan and spreading into the MENA region. And we have a lot going on in this app. So we have a messaging vertical in which we have chat and call and stories and all kinds of cool things. And then we come to the content verticals, which is what I look after. So we have a music streaming service in partnership with Boomplay. We have games. I believe some of you will have experienced our very proudly African game outside. And we also have channels. So we have 150 editorial channels. They kind of look like Instagram. You kind of scroll in the vertical format, and they're all different kinds of channels, depending on what users might be interested in. We have a food channel, we have a fashion channel, we have music channels, all different editorial channels talking about all different kinds of things that our users might enjoy. So that's Ayoba. So we're going to talk about content marketing. So I stole this graphic from a blog that I like to read on medium.com. And when I look at it, it feels like a summary of the day we've had today, which makes me feel like I must be somewhat on track. So I'm going to just take us through this quite briefly, because I really feel like it's been a long day and much more educated people than me have touched on a lot of these topics. But just starting with personalized content. I think someone earlier said it's the holy grail of digital at the moment, and that is certainly true. And it comes in all different formats, from the email that says, "Hello, Gillian," to the amazing tracks that Spotify put on my front page, to what we're doing at Ayoba, which means serving local content. South African content to South Africans, Nigerian content to Nigerians, making sure that we're keeping it fresh and local. From there, we have interactive content. At the moment, of course, everybody wants to have a two-way conversation. Users don't want us talking at them about our brands. They want the opportunity to engage and participate. And of course, that builds that sense of closeness and that sense of brand love. And there are a lot of different ways that you can do this, from simply engaging in polls and quizzes and all of those kinds of things, but a very, very important element in the content marketing. Influencer marketing, which Sia will be talking about in a minute, has been around for ages. And I think we've all seen the shift. We started with the macro influencers. Everybody wanted to hear the celebrity's voice. We were all paying 100,000 Rand for a post and thinking, is this really the right thing to do? Now we've moved more into micro influencers. And what we've come to prize is the value of the peer comment and that peer-to-peer recommendation. And that's something that I've had a lot of success with and really enjoy working in that space. So video content. My goodness, we've heard a lot about video content today. That's been quite a journey for me at Ayoba. We are 4 years old, and when we first started, we were very, very light on video. We thought, we're giving our customers free data. Are they going to want to spend all that data watching a video? As it turns out, they do. And as the 4 years have gone by, so we've added more and more and more video into our offering because our users really, really love to engage with videos. And I've seen the same on my social media. We had the same conservative attitude in the beginning. Oh, do people really, are they really going to consume these videos? They do. They want to. They really enjoy them. So video is definitely where it's at the moment. And of course, we have this thing that this author calls a micro moment. So what is he talking about? He's talking about our mobile first world. And what he's saying is that in this world, when a user wants to engage with something, they put their hand in their pocket, they take out their phone, and they want it right now. It's very, very important to be in that moment, to have the right content in the right place at the right time, and all of those kinds of things. And of course, that draws us back to so many things that have been said here today. The importance of authenticity, the importance of having relevant content, and all those kinds of things. I feel like this is just a summary of what people have been saying today. But those are the trends, so we're clearly all on the right path in this room. And just one other thing. This was a survey done in 22. Unsurprisingly, the main aim and the main goal that people achieved with content marketing was brand awareness. I don't think that surprises anyone. But I was very interested to see trust at the second position there. I think on this continent, at this moment, trust is absolutely critical. We're in a continent where people are subject to scams and fraud and all sorts of things, and they really have to trust you just to give you their phone number. So it's a very, very important thing. And of course, we're seeing many, many other things here that content marketing is able to touch and deliver. It really is quite a full spectrum and certainly deserves its place in the marketing mix. So that's really a brief look at the trends. And what we're going to be doing now is handing over the microphone to Sia, who's going to take us through some best practices in content marketing.
Hey, thank you. It feels like, I think I'll handle it now. I see. So what goes forward? What goes backwards? Oh, green. The top green, not any green. There's 3 greens here. So hi everybody, how you guys doing? Yeah. So just as a side note, as Jill has been saying, you guys are on the right track, because everything has to start from the streets, right? Everything has to start from the streets. When we talk about a lot of these things, by the time they get here, they are theory. The streets might not have the technology. They might not have a bunch of terminology that you guys are using, but everything starts in the streets. So this is why I'm going to say to you. And I'm the only guy that came with cue cards today. It's because I'm a rapper, so I could freestyle by mistake and it'll be an 8-mile show and you guys you'll come to the wrong room, all right? So let me start. So when people think of Slikouronlife, they think of a rapper, they think of a TV presenter, or they think of an author, as if they do think of Slikouronlife, right? But the truth of the matter is that Slikouronlife is a content agency that works with multiple brands and helps them with their reach strategies for like the culture, meaning like youth culture and music. These are all the brands that we've worked with. So like identifying right content strategies and also going as far as creating influencer strategies for them, right? So we do this on our own platforms. And a little bit about our own platforms, we've got a platform called Slikouronlife.co.za, which has had over 20 million visitors ever since it started. We've got our own social media kind of ecosystem, which in the past 28 days has reached over 11.7 million people. And we also have a partnership with a company called Integrate, where we sell media for all the most influential vloggers and podcasters in South Africa at this point, which reaches close to 32.2 million people. And in addition to that, Slikouronlife has a culture tech platform, which basically receives payments and able to send payments and do P2P payments and redeem vouchers. But I'll get into that before I complicate you, because I did say I'm a rapper. So with that being said, I just need to jump into my cue cards, because you know what rappers do. We just start freestyling and it takes longer than it should. So I'd like to share some of the case studies basically with some of the brands that have trusted us. And let me start with Stimroll, right? So Stimroll has an existing campaign called Stimroll Flow Lab, where they were running workshops across the country, and they had identified artists who they felt that had the potential to become something. And they asked us to help them to create awareness, speak to the right audience. And what we did, we basically came back and we developed a concept that lived on all our websites and all our social platforms, called Hot on the Street. So it was like a little micro episode of these artists telling their stories, right? We also selected some nano influencers who play in the music space, who help us amplify these stories. And the campaign landed through authentically within the target market, right? With regards to our results, we got an incredible, that girl is still there. There we are. So we got an incredible 7.3 million impressions, and the videos that were viewed that we created for this got over 3.2 million views, right? Our next case study is with our AB InBev client called Stella Artois. Stella Artois basically positions themselves as a brand that looks at connecting with loved ones, and they couldn't really do this during the festive season when it was COVID time, because obviously we were all sitting in our houses and we all knew what was happening on every streaming platform. You watch things reverse and forward because that's lockdown, right? We thought it was 30 days. So because Stella Artois basically couldn't do an activation, we came and we pitched a proactive content concept called Festive Get Together, which was around like people connecting with loved ones around a table. We identified celebrity musicians, friends, couples who we knew had an authentic connection. And by default, because they know each other when they're sitting there, you would kind of get that connection. And they were hosted by our guest, Unatinkai. The content series ended up becoming the strategic lead for Stella Artois' Q4 campaign, which English is not mine. Can I please just say, it's not mine. But this was basically like leading they through the line campaign. And the client came back to us and said, okay, cool, we see the content. Can you also get it on television? And then we started speaking with MultiChoice. We've been speaking on email. How you doing? Nice to meet you. So we spoke with MultiChoice, and it ended up you see, it's an interactive session. You know what I mean? We were just great. Hey, I ain't seen you in years. It's crazy. So we started having, so what we started doing, we negotiated the show to be on Mzansi Magic, and for what they said it was the first time they allowed an AFP to have 3 episodes, because we were only doing it for the festive. The show had 4,600 organic engagement on Twitter, 1.6 million media coverage, and Stella Artois saw a 6% volume uplift on Q4 in 2020 versus Q19. They also saw 25% growth on brand power on Q4 2020 versus Q19. So why am I using 2020 like 4 years ago content? The reason is because this was the only campaign that Stella Artois ran during this quarter, and it was led by content, and collaborating with all the through the line agencies, we were able to get these results just off a content piece. That was the only thing they ran. And the only other reason I'm also doing it is because this campaign works so well that we're actually on season 4. As you can see me now, I'm a little bit stressed because we're starting to shoot on Saturday. So, these gray hairs weren't here this morning. It is what it is. It's rough out here. And then my last case study is really with our podcast network that we call Aggregate. This is a vlog and podcast network. Basically, as you can see, we have different categories with some of the most influential podcasters and vloggers. And what we do, we're able to basically curate the type of vloggers or podcasters that a brand should speak to. In this instance, Sprite came to us and they were running a campaign with Casper. They just created a can or bottle with his face for the first time. So we basically plugged them into our music catalog, and at the time we're looking at the El Tito and the Lord of the Jig podcast. Those are real things. Lord of the Jig podcast and the Slikouronlife podcast, and we're able to get all the content there. And what we did, we literally got Casper to sit with one of the podcasters. The other podcaster basically sat with an artist that has actually collaborated with Casper before, and they started integrating the Sprite conversation. And the other podcaster basically met up with another up-and-coming artist. So we got 3 different artists that these podcasters were speaking to land the message. So the conversation moves from Sprite and Casper to basically Sprite, Casper, the culture. Oh, by the way, if you go to my Instagram, it says at Metane, I'm employed by the culture, as a side note. So those are the results over there. And just to be a little bit nostalgic, and just to go the other side, depending on how old you are. But I believe that we're all old enough, Yes, we are. If you guys remember, in my time, the ceiling for TV is that, you couldn't share, comment, replay, or unfollow, or watch anything. You just had to switch off the TV, in my time. That's if you've lived at a time where there was just only TV. Say hey if you were born with that at a time. Amen. We old ass people. Thank you. Amen. So the reality is that the ceiling with digital is that a user can't experience, partake, purchase through an impression or reach. So the question is, how does content make sales? So using our culture tech platform, which in essence is a fintech platform, our long-standing client, Hennessy, asked us to create content for their Hip Hop 50 PR event and their headlining partnership with the biggest hip hop festival, which is called Back to the City. So we created traditional content, but also developed limited additional content piece, which is an exclusive VIP Back to the City ticket. So essentially, within the content now, what we're saying, we're driving acquisition and making the viewer who's watching the content be able to purchase straight off the bat, right? So our culture tech platform allows us to integrate content with sales seamlessly, making their sales incidental because it's part of the content or the user experience. So the integration so this is probably what it looked like, with the ticketing after you've kind of scanned and you do your purchase. But the integration of content and e-commerce stores living on a singular platform, I believe, that's why I say what you guys are saying, everything is right. Because we're already doing this in our way, We're already driving acquisition with content and reach in the way that we know. And the way you guys are teaching us, we go, oh, okay, security, ChatGPT, let me chat with somebody too. You know what I mean? So shout out to you guys, So all I want to say, though, is that if you take the content leadership of Slikouronlife, Integrate, which is the podcast and vlog network, and Ayoba with the 25, I know you're going to make another announcement soon. Yes. Ayoba with the 25 million users across Africa. Wrap it up with the payment solution. This is very important. Wrap it up with the payment solutions to drive your sales. It's the beginning of content and acquisition and awareness that hasn't been discovered in Africa before. That's for real. For real. You got to say it's real.
Hey?
That's for real.
Yes, for real.
For real. Thanks, G. Appreciate you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Sia. I think I speak on behalf of everyone here when I say that to to your skill as a rapper, you now need to start adding juggling, because that was pretty impressive at one point with the mic and the cards and the slides. That was pretty impressive.
I tried.
So thank you very much. So back to Ayoba and content marketing. So here we are. We're Ayoba. We're 4 years old. We've come to 25 million monthly active users, which we're so proud of, spreading across Africa. And we decide we want to go into content marketing. And the first thing you're going to notice is that the slide says sponsored content, because I haven't called it content marketing internally, because technically content marketing is only when the platform creates the content for you. And in actual fact, we go way beyond that. So I'm calling it sponsored content. So here's a little example. So when we launched, which was about 6 months ago, we were very, very lucky and grateful to have a couple of companies take a chance on us and buy campaigns with us. And I want to shout out to DSTV for being one of our first customers. And of course, Cadbury's and Chappies, which is what Cherylann's going to be discussing. So here's a little look at what we did. Maybe. So I want to give the mic to Cherylann now for a sec and say, you know, as a marketer, as an agency person, all the things we've been hearing about this morning, you know, tell us what you look for in content marketing and why did you take a chance on Ayoba?
It was quite interesting. Sean Pashley over there, him and I have known each other for years, and he popped into the office and we were chatting about the Cadbury Generosity campaign, which basically is about bringing families together during story time. And of course, as you know, when you start a strategy, whether it's a media strategy or a content strategy, you know, you've got your tick boxes to tick, you know, what makes a client happy. And I suppose a little bit of magic of working on Cadbury or Mondelez brands is they do give us space for innovation to try something different. So Sean and I were chatting and we were doing some of his V&A ads. And one of the things that I was battling with, I suppose, was not to turn right. But if your Waze app would like to join in the AI conversation, I am all inclusive. So one of the things I was battling with was having a look at trying to find the depth and breadth of audience that you don't find on the big socials. Because realistically, family time and story time is something that in our busy lives, we don't always have time with. And also, you know, probably in the families in the room, we know our families as our moms and our dads and maybe even our grandparents, but we often forget to think really about the people that we need to touch and reach. And the families that we are wanting to connect with were people that, you know, it could be your auntie, it could be anybody really is your family, even your neighbor. And when we have a look at that audience that we need to connect with and touch, they are not on those big socials. And so when Sean was chatting to me about Ayoba and about the opportunity that Gillian had, I thought, now there's something that's not only interesting for Cadbury as a brand, because actually as a marketer, you've got to think beyond what just works for the brand, but really what's going to work for the audience. And because it's 0 rated, and because we had formats of video, and like text, reading and books, there was such a stunning opportunity. So that's really what sparked my interest at first. And then after our conversations, I mean, I got super excited having a conversation with a media owner that didn't give me a rate card and you can have your banner here and you can have 3 stories there and then you can also have 2 whatever else is. It was like, what does your client need? What are you trying to achieve? And I think what excited me is that innovation and the opportunities that came with Ayoba beyond just a rate card. It was, we could actually use a storyful platform for story time, which you said was obviously perfect. I mean, that just was almost a no-brainer. And so that was also very easy to not even sell in, but just to take to the clients.
Well, it's very humbling to sit and listen to this, and we are so grateful to everyone who, you know, who participated. So I'm going to show you quickly what we did. So this is what the campaign looked like in app. And we thought, well, we've got all this great content. How do we Ayobify it? Because that's a verb. So we took the PDF storybooks and the audiobooks and put them together and actually made animated storybooks.
Skippy and Zoom by Louise Kruger, illustrated by Stephen Wallace.
Such a great campaign. And here you see the results of the campaign with permission from the client, of course. So this was about a 2.5-month campaign. And on the right-hand side, you can see we put out 30 posts across 5 of our channels. So you can see the icons at the top there. There's our Brighten Your Day channel, which we started during COVID because we just thought we needed it. There's Mzansi Updates, there's Trending, there's Ayoba News, and there's our Food Tips and Tricks channel. And I'm going to ask Cherylann again to tell us, what do you see in these results? Like, did it come out the way you expected? What can you tell us?
So I think looking at results, I don't look at them individually, but just holistically. And I think that because Ayoba is a discovery of content platform and the content is sticky, and we were chatting earlier about the fact, David, you mentioned, like in South Africa, we need zero-rated content. We need to give people an opportunity to connect with content in the space that they are, meet them where they are. And you can clearly see from the results, not just the video views, which really surprised me, but just overall that the content was put into a space where, like I say, Ayoba is a discovery platform. It's also not really a platform like a traditional or social media platform where you're multitasking, multi-screening. You're involved. There's games that you can play, there's music you can listen to, and the content was just landed really well. So overall, just really happy. I think also what excited me after the fact, so I actually was at StarCom when I started the campaign, and then Themba Nkosi sitting over the next to Sean. Raise your hand, it's interactive, right? So Themba Nkosi filled in the role of lead digital strategist on the Mondelez account at StarCom since I left. So he actually implemented the campaign with the team. And what I saw on the other side was that what we had originally recommended and went to market with, you also optimized and made changes. And that came from the both of you. So, just adding in a micro app within the app, creating these stories, which we didn't ask for as added value. And so because we had different formats within Brighten Your Day and then across other channels, these are the results that we got. So overall, absolutely happy. And obviously the client is as well.
Well, thank you so much. So one of the big learnings that we had was, of course, the user journey, which is a very critical part of any campaign. And we realized that these posts all had click-throughs. And then we realized that we could actually keep that click-through inside Ayoba. And we created a micro app, which is an added value service that we offer. And you can actually see here, this is the Cadbury's website as a micro app inside Ayoba. So it keeps the user in the zero rate environment, makes the conversion better, all those good things that everyone is looking for. So last slide on this is the Chappies campaign, which also came from the same place. And here you can see the results. We were very proud of these results, particularly the click-through rate, which is a really, really good outcome. And what you're seeing here, if Vincent, I can move. What you're seeing here is the stats that we give at the end of the campaign. Because we are an engagement campaign, we're not a CPM campaign. These are the kind of things. But what really was amazing to see was that Chappies used the same artwork on Facebook and managed to get 3,500 views on it. And we got 53,000 views. And that's one of the things about Ayoba. We are completely opposite to social media. Social media is transient. You put something up and it's gone in an instant. Ayoba takes 3 weeks for people to actually consume all the posts. So it's a much more sustained engagement. And that brings us to our last slide. What makes Ayoba special? Everyone says this to me. Every time we go into an agency, why are you special? Why can't I just put the money on Facebook? And this is what we think at the moment, is it's about contextual relevance because we're targeting by interest and we're putting things where users expect to find them. And because the platform has a slower rollout, there's a sustained engagement and it creates a meaningful conversation and relationship. And over and above that, because you're talking to the same person on a repeat basis. If someone's in the Music South Africa channel, those users consume 8 to 9 cards in a month. And that gives you the opportunity to build a story and tell a story from beginning to end, talking to the same person over and over again. So in our opinion, we think that makes us special, and we hope everyone else is going to find the same.
If I can just add to that, Gillian, if anybody hasn't been on the Ayoba app yet, please download it and have a look. The metrics themselves don't sit on a dashboard. They're transparent and they're on every single post. So at any point, your client can pop on and actually see how the campaign is performing. So, I mean, that's also really valuable.
That's good to know. So that's our presentation. Like Vincent, I was tempted to go and take the words thank you right off that slide.